What if, if you teach ELL students, that's everyone in the room, go ahead and just scoot to the edge of your seat. You're going to want to hear this. Let's welcome Caitlin MacLeod-Bluver and Nicole Tabolt de Silva and Juliet Buesing to the stage.
Good evening. I'm Nicole de Silva. I teach at Boston International High School.
My name is Caitlin. I also teach at Boston International High School, where all of our students are recent immigrants.
My name is Juliet Buesing. I teach Humanities and AP English Language at Urban Science Academy, a traditional Boston public high school.
We wanted to begin this Ed Talk with the story of Santiago. Santiago is a 17-year-old who immigrated to the country 3 years ago and started in the 8th grade. At first glance, Santiago seems to be making a lot of progress. He loves translating for newly arrived students. He can talk up any adult visitor to our class. But when it came to reading, it seemed like he would do anything to disrupt or escape the classroom. In October, when we gave a reading assessment, the reason for his problem became clear. He scored beginning reader, the same level as first graders just learning to read. Because really what he'd done is mastered how to pretend reading. In fact, he was the one who came up with the whiteboard sign. But year after year, Santiago has been able to pass his classes and do some of the grade level work. But our current literacy program is failing him. And not just him, because he's just one student. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of English language learners in the city who are not learning to read.
But the literacy problem is not just a problem for recent immigrants. It's also affecting students in our top English classes across the city. I teach open enrollment AP English Language, and the students entering my course this year varied greatly in skill level. This is just a small sample. I have a junior who, with very poor spelling who writes in short, stilted sentences and disorganized paragraphs. A senior who's brilliant and writes in dense, thoughtful sentences, but really struggles to write on demand and under pressure, and often forgets to capitalize. And a junior with a reading disability who depends on audiobooks and often uses informal English in her formal writing. How could I design one course that would actually help all of these students learn how to write on a college level in just a year?
Students like Santiago and students in Juliet's class are not reading and writing at grade level, but that is not because they lack ambition or dedication. Our students speak 2 to 4 languages. They work 10 to 20, if not 40 hours a week. They are scholar athletes and debaters, honor roll students, and scholarship recipients, and they attend after school and Saturday school programming.
The data shows that the problem is clearly district-wide. 50% of English language learners in 3rd, 8th, and 10th grade fail or score needs improvement on the MCAS in 2014.
Likewise, in 2014, only 45% of BPS students received a passing score of 3 or higher on their AP exams. And for students of color, things are significantly worse, a stark 25% passing rate.
So clearly, looking at our current students and looking at this data, we know that there is a problem. We decided we needed to rethink what literacy instruction means at the high school level. We proposed a different, hybrid style of teaching. We started to ask ourselves, what if there was a way to fill the gaps our students have in fundamental literacy skills while still teaching demanding grade level content?
We wanted to explain now our reading program that we started this year. In October, we gave the SRI, the Scholastic Reading Inventory, to 150 9th and 10th graders at our school. 66% of those students scored at the 2nd grade reading level or below. Remember, those are students like Santiago, 17 and 2 years away from graduation.
Using this data, we divided our students into 3 different groups: a phonics group, a fluency group, and a reading strategies group. In these groups, students receive targeted, explicit instruction that matches their reading need. On the days when the students are not meeting with us, they continue to practice their skill through independent reading logs, flashcards, and online programs. Now, these types of small differentiated groups may not sound new to the elementary school teachers in the room, but they are simply not happening at the high school level, despite the need. Our dilemma was how to adapt this model to meet the needs of our high school students.
Our other dilemma was that there's so few programs nationwide to teach teenage immigrants how to learn English and how to read at the high school level. We wanted now to highlight some of our success. This is our first year in the program, but we're already seeing tremendous gains. Students are improving in their reading from word parts to literary analysis, whatever their need is. We wanted to highlight 3 students, starting with our case study from the beginning of the presentation. Santiago, who started a beginning reader, 4 months later was at the end of the 2nd grade reading level. Jessica, who's only been in the country for 14 months, jumped 3 grade levels this year.
Carlos also jumped 2 grade levels from the beginning of the year until now. He went from a student who would never pick up a book to now having completed an entire series of books at his new and improved level. In addition, our students are expressing joy and confidence about their reading in ways that we had not seen before. This is also translated to their other classes as well. Our students have always been curious about the world and the words around them, and now they have the tools to figure it out. They couldn't make it tonight, but they wanted to share with you what they thought of our program.
I know how to read and pronounce hard words that no one had ever taught me.
These skills are not babies, because if we can't read well, we won't be able to get a good job in our future.
I know how to read a long paragraph out aloud without stopping or reading like a robot.
English is very different from our first language, so we need to learn the little things too.
Now I'll explain how I helped my students grow as writers this year. Rather than craft a curriculum based on covering content or speeding through topical reading-centered units, I decided to focus my energy on direct writing instruction. I came up with a plan. First, I designed long units around one type of writing, assigning essentially the same assignment over and over again. And I don't mean that I assigned an essay that they took home and revised and brought back to me. I mean, I assigned the same paper 8 times. Don't worry, I used a lot of different prompts. But I realized that learning how to write takes a lot of time and practice. So I just decided I would take whatever time it took for students to actually master the skills we were working on. And that time meant a lot of things. It might mean an out-of-class conference. It might mean extra feedback on a paper. It might mean extending a unit several weeks so we could do the same paper again. And I know some of the teachers in the room are probably cringing because 8 papers, each student, 1 unit, is a lot of grading. And it is. This brings me to my second point. I developed a new way to look at student work. Grading was no longer a burdensome stack of boring papers I just had to get through. Rather, it became the most interesting research I was doing all day. I became an expert at finding patterns in student work so that when I graded a paragraph like this, what went through my mind was this. I scoured student work looking for the exact knowledge, information, patterns, practice that my students actually needed. And then I designed really specific writing lessons based on those findings. Things like how to use the preposition on, how to build a dense sentence, how to identify a fragment, how to incorporate quotations smoothly. These are little writer's skills, but they made a big difference. But there was a third thing I did as well. I centered the class on student voice. I had students write papers about what they wanted to write about. I've read papers on everything this year, from whether we should pay college athletes, to female body image issues, to the rebranding of Snapchat. I've read stories about shootouts on the streets of Lagos and breakups on the back of a bus, and probably the best review ever written of the TV show Scandal. Teenagers have opinions and experiences and creative ideas, and we should encourage them that authentic writing actually contains those things. Make every prompt your own, I tell my students, and they do, which is so cool, because I end up learning something new every time I grade. Besides my classroom being a really joyful place because of all these changes, The results of this program have actually been really impressive. When we first started our argument writing unit, for example, many of my students could not produce more than a single paragraph in the 40-minute time period allotted for an AP exam, and most of them had not answered the question correctly at all. None of them had written a passing essay. When we finished that unit, 19 of my students had produced passing essays of 5 or higher according to the AP grading scale. But writing is not just about the numbers, right? So I wanted to show you what this writing growth looks like. You may remember I started this talk with an 11th grade student who used to be on an IEP for writing. This is an excerpt from one of the first pieces she ever turned into me. You can take a look. You might notice there are a lot of unintentional fragments. There's a lot of choppy, redundant sentences, redundant ideas, and there's a total lack of urgency to the thinking and the ideas in the paper. Now, I want you to listen to a more recent piece, and as you listen, pay attention to the rhythm and her use of repetition. Take a look at how she does use a fragment in this next one, but she does it intentionally, within a landscape of much stronger, more complex sentences. And notice how, through the course of her writing, she arrives at an original idea. That's what writing is, right? Take a listen.
America, land of the free and home of the brave. Students I know and go to school with live in rough neighborhoods where they have no guarantee of safety, walking through streets where friends, brothers, sisters, aunts, and uncles may have died. Yes, we are safe from other countries who pose a threat to us, but terrorists will always be terrorists. School shooters will always be school shooters. Murderers, rapists, and child abusers will always do what they want. So I more so disagree that man would rather be safe. As a human, I'd much rather my freedom because nobody can ensure my safety.
The coolest part, this student now tells me she wants to be a journalist when she grows up.
So where does this work leave us, and what does it look like for our future? For us, this looks like a continued effort to target the specific skills our students need. We believe in the power of our students. They are resilient, eager, and excited learners. This is not a dumbing down of the curriculum, but rather a smart, efficient effort to give our students the tools they need to be successful in their futures.
For the teachers in the room, reading is powerful. Writing is powerful. This is why we teach. We must tackle explicitly teaching, reading, and writing if we hope to empower our students with the tools they're going to need to be successful beyond high school. What if this presentation is the start of a dialogue around what it means to teach literacy within a rigorous curriculum at the secondary level?
For school and district leaders in the room, what if we all really commit to providing high-quality literacy instruction for all of our students? This work cannot fall on the shoulders of teachers alone, and it is certainly not a problem the three of us face in our classrooms or in our 2 schools alone. This is a grand task, and we need your help supporting our work, our growth as teachers, but mostly our students. We need the support, the time, and the structures to make this work feasible.
And for us as a city, we want to make sure that all of our students, including our Santiagos, are able to graduate with the skills they need to be this city's innovators and future leaders. We believe it is our collective responsibility to make sure that our students are becoming critical readers and strong writers. What if we start this work today?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's thank them one more time for encouraging their students to be resilient, creative, innovative thinkers. Next up.